This week on the Second Tier podcast, we'll be revealing our halfway team of the season for the Championship. Which players have been the cream of the crop? Who have been the standout players? All of that will be revealed on Sunday, but for now, let's talk about the players who have been the exact opposite. For one reason or another, the players in this team headed into this season with a degree of expectation on their shoulders, and their performances haven't matched them. So let's dive in. I'm Ryan Dilks from the Second Tier, and this is an 11 of the most disappointing players in the Championship this season. We start with the goalkeeper, Illan Meslier of Leeds United. Yeah, no surprise with this one, eh? Illan Meslier has always been a divisive figure in the Leeds United fan base. Despite being Leeds' number one for 5 years now, there doesn't seem to have been a moment where every fan has been convinced by him. But this season seems to be the one where supporters have had enough. Leeds have only conceded 19 goals in 26 games this season, which isn't bad really. But if you look at all of the goals individually, it's incredible how many he should be doing better with. He's cost Leeds results on so many occasions this season, the standout example being that awful one against Sunderland, which honestly might be one of the worst mistakes I've ever seen from a goalkeeper. And probably the most brutal criticism you can have of Illan Meslier is if Leeds had a better goalkeeper, they would be miles clear at the top of the table by now. His form has been so bad that the latest reports are Leeds are willing to sell him this January, so it seems like he's made one too many errors. Into the defence now, and we start with the right back, Milan van Ewijk of Coventry City. Coventry signed the Dutchman for £3.5 million in the summer of 2023, and he was electric. He was one of Coventry's standout players last season and one of the best right backs in the league. And heading into this season, he was expected to play a big role for them, but he simply hasn't been at the same level. So much so that it's led to a lot of Coventry fans suggesting they should sell him, with clubs elsewhere in Europe reportedly interested. In fairness to him, he's not the only Coventry player who's disappointed this season, but he might be the one who's disappointed the most. On to our first centre-back, it's Teden Mengi of Luton Town. Teden Mengi was one of the standout players in Luton's Premier League campaign, featuring in nearly every game. At just 22 years old, many were expecting him to stay in the top flight because of those performances last season, but he stayed at Luton and has thoroughly underwhelmed. He had the potential to be an absolute beast in the Championship this season because his performances in the Premier League seemed to indicate that he was too good to be playing at this level. Instead, what's happened is he's played a part in the second worst defence in the Championship this season, behind only Plymouth, who have conceded the most goals at this stage ever in a Championship season. In fairness to Mengi, he has been injured since the start of December and is set to be out for some time. But what isn't a great statistic for him is Luton have actually conceded fewer goals per game with him out of the team than when he was in it. Also got to give a mention for the bizarre situation around his injury. So Mengi was advised to have surgery because of a knee problem last summer, but he decided against it. And he's now suffered a knee injury, which is going to keep him out for months. So it's not been a great few months for Teden Mengi, nor has it been a great few months for anyone associated with Luton Town, hence why he won't be the last Luton player to feature in this team. On to our other centre-back. It's Louis Binks of Coventry City. Binks spent last season on loan at Coventry and impressed, so it only made sense for them to go out and get him on a permanent basis for £3 million last summer. But he's unfortunately been one of Coventry's many players who have massively underperformed this season. In defence of him, there are a few Coventry defenders who could have taken his place in this team in a defence which has conceded a lot more goals than many expected, but he just gets the nod for me. Considering the money they spent on him, you would have expected better than what we've had so far. It's one of the main reasons why Frank Lampard has now dropped him to the bench. He's still a young player though, and time is still very much on his side. On to our final player in this defence, it's the left back, and it's Ryan Giles of Hull City. This is a very strange situation. So Ryan Giles was on loan at Hull last season, and they had the option to make the move permanent in the summer for £4.5 million. But he actually lost his place in the team towards the end of last season. They still signed him anyway though. It seemed like the reason why was so that they could try to sell him on again for a profit, but that didn't happen. So with the high turnover of players over the summer for Hull, it seemed like he was going to get another chance this season. But it's just not happened for him. He's had two separate runs of starts in the Hull team, but also had a spell where he only made one start in 13 games, and now it seems like he's lost his place in the team again. It's unfortunate because 2 seasons ago he genuinely was the best left back in the Championship when he was on loan at Middlesbrough. That form seems like a long time ago now though. And now Hull are left with a player who cost them £4.5 million and is barely featuring. It's a move which just hasn't worked out. On to our midfield now. Right winger, Ante Cernak of Norwich City. It wouldn't surprise me if a lot of neutrals watching this haven't even heard of this lad. The 21-year-old Croatian joined from Polish side Rakow in the summer for an initial fee of £9 million. Norwich are said to have fought off competition from top-flight European teams to get him, but with just 4 goals and 2 assists to his name in his 24 appearances, most of which have been up front, he's not exactly set the world alight so far. Norwich could have really done with him stepping up around November time as well when they were suffering an injury crisis, but it's just not happened. He's still a young player, so time is definitely on his side, and he should be by no means regarded as a bad transfer at this stage, but he has got a long way to go to repay the money Norwich spent on him. This video is brought to you by our good friends at SBK. If you haven't heard of them yet, then where have you been? SBK's comprehensive range of markets and exclusive offers makes it the best place to bet on the Championship this season. Whether you're creating an accumulator or customising your bet builder, SBK has got you covered. Don't believe us? Sign up today and find out. Let's go to the central midfielders. The first one is Taif Chong of Luton Town. I've been astonished at how poor Taif Chong has been this season. He was brilliant at Birmingham a couple of seasons ago and didn't look out of place with Luton in the Premier League, but this season he hasn't been great at all. It's not completely his fault because Luton as a whole have been shocking. He's also not been helped by being made to play at wing back in recent weeks. However, considering how good a player we know he can be, he's been well below those standards. You could make a fair argument that he's been Luton's biggest underachiever this season, of which there have been quite a few, but taking into account how much responsibility there was going to be on his shoulders, he has been extremely disappointing this season. On to our other centre mid, it's Abdulkadir Ömer of Hull City. Hull saw an insane number of first team players leave last summer, but one player fans were hoping would kick on this season was Abdulkadir Ömer. The Turkish midfielder joined Hull for £2 million in the last January window. He came from Trabzonspor, where he was starting fairly regularly in their midfield. Now, last season Ömer was perhaps being kept out of the team by Fabio Carvalho, and while he did impress in glimpses, Hull fans were hoping he could play a starring role in this season, and he hasn't. He's only started 4 of Hull's last 19 games, and since new manager Ruben Sellers has come in, he spent more time on the bench than on the pitch. He's not scored or assisted a goal for Hull this season, but perhaps most concerning is this. Out of the 19 Hull players who have featured in 10 games or more this season, he ranks 9th for the most chances created per minute. Keep in mind, he's meant to be one of their main creative players, so it's not like he's even been unlucky, it's just been a very, very frustrating season. On to the left winger now, it's Mike Trezor of Burnley. There's quite a few players I could have chosen for the left wing position actually, but I had to include him because this is one of the oddest stories of the season. Burnley signed Mike Trezor in the summer of their Premier League season, initially on loan from Belgian side Genk. He would go on to start just 4 games for them, only featuring twice in their final 17 games of the season. But that didn't stop Burnley making the move permanent last summer, despite getting relegated for a reported fee of £16 million. I imagine what's happened here is it was one of those loans with an obligation to buy, so Burnley likely had no say in the matter. Even still, not great business. But anyway, heading into this season, you're going into the Championship with a player who you thought was capable of doing a job for you in the Premier League. So how's he got on?
Where is he? No idea.
We're now 26 games into the season and Mike Trezor has failed to play a single minute. Burnley say that he had a serious injury at the back end of last season and that carried over into the summer. Then Burnley manager Scott Parker said he was ill, and that's all we really know. It's very mysterious why he hasn't featured at all so far. Despite that, he has been linked with a move to Leeds this January, so who knows whether we'll actually ever see him in a Burnley shirt again after his big money move. There were so many strikers I could have picked for this team, but we'll go on to the first one. It's Ike Ugbo of Sheffield Wednesday. Ike Ugbo featured in our recent video of the top 20 WTF moments in the Championship of 2024 for this incredibly awkward new signing announcement.
And you never know what happens now. Oh, sorry. Hey, how are you?
Good. How are you?
Welcome back, guys. It's a new signing. Good to have you here.
And maybe that awkwardness has been a big reason as to why he struggled so much this season. He joined for £2.5 million in the summer after a great loan spell at Wednesday last season where he scored 7 goals in 18 games. He's not quite lived up to those expectations this season though, having played 24 games and failing to score a single goal. Things were so bad that the Wednesday players gave him the ball in their recent game against Millwall after they won a penalty, just so he could end his goalless run. and he still missed. He showed last season that he is capable of scoring, so hopefully he finds that form again, but right now he looks so low on confidence. He's also got the second worst XG for an individual player this season, behind only one player. It's the final player in our most disappointing 11 of the Championship this season. It's Elijah Adebayo of Luton Town. Another player who's been massively disappointing for Luton this season, despite being quite good in the Premier League. Adebayo got 10 goals in the top flight last season, despite being in a relegated side. How many strikers have scored double figures in a Premier League season and ended up playing in the Championship the next season? There can't have been that many. Well, Luton had 2 with Adebayo and Carlton Morris. The latter hasn't had an amazing season either, but Adebayo has been really poor. Adebayo has the highest individual XG of any player in the Championship this season with 10.3, which shows he's getting plenty of great chances, but he's only scored 5. He's by far the player who's underperformed his XG the most in the Championship this season, despite getting 5 goals, which isn't a terrible tally without context. He's missed 21 big chances this season. To put that into context, Boya Sainz is the next most with 14. So he's really misfiring in front of goal, and to be nearly averaging a big chance missed in every game this season is pretty good going. He was getting linked with a move back to the Premier League last summer, but his form this season has completely eradicated any chance of that happening. So there we have it. This has been the most disappointing 11 in the Championship this season. Is there anyone who you disagree with? Is there anyone who you think I missed out? Let me know in the comments section below. If you've enjoyed the video, make sure you like and subscribe for more content like this. I've been Dilks from the Second Tier, and we'll be back again very soon.